Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Madmouth. What a show we have in store for you today. Major League Baseball Trade Deadline. What do I need to say? You know what? I'm not saying nothing. I'm going to let Lou Landers take over.
All right, Scott. Well, thank you for that. And yes, just an insane amount of movement yesterday, today. We go all the way back to July 27th, though, on this show. We're basically going to be breaking down absolutely every single trade that's happened since July 27th. Before I do that, do want to introduce our other buddy up there, Mr. Rick Curdy, aka Mr. Opinion. Rick, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
I am excellent. Scott, how about yourself? Are you excited to get on the road to Cooperstown?
You better believe I am. But you know what? People are wondering, why am I going ahead wearing a University of Miami hat today? Well, you know what? I cover the University of Miami Hurricanes football media day today, and I had a great time. Got a lot of great content, videos, and so forth. So look for the South Florida Tribune. So yeah, I'm excited. But all roads to me, before I had a show prior with Mark Mancini and my Canes information, went through Coral Gables, Florida, and I got so much accomplished. And what was so cool about the whole experience, Lou, is getting your updates on every trade on the planet. I have never seen a guy put in the incredible effort that you put in.
Dude, I literally put together manually every single trade since July 27th. I have it all. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Twitter. So wherever you folks want to watch, we got it for you. So let's just start. Let's get ready.
Well, I'm going to say one thing, though. You are amazing. All right, I'm done.
I appreciate it. But let's move right into this. July 27th, first of all the big trades comes in. The Royals trade Andrew Benintendi, outfielder, to the Yankees for 3 minor leaguers. Rumored for a while, Benintendi wasn't vaccinated. There was concerns would the Yankees make this move because they have to go to Toronto at the end of the year, maybe face Toronto in the playoffs. Well, Benintendi says, I'll get vaccinated. The Yankees make this move. Big upgrade for their outfield, big upgrade in their lineup. Can bat first, can bat second, can bat fifth, can bat sixth. And great quality player, good at bat every time out there. Great defender, big upgrade to Joey Gallo, who was moved today. We'll get to that, of course. But pretty much everything the Yankees needed to do in this trade for an outfielder, they do it. They go out there, they give up 3 minor leaguers, pretty much lottery tickets at this point. None of them are highly established players. Maybe the Royals get lucky with one of the 3. I hope they do. I like the Royals overall. I like those small market teams. Rick, your thoughts on this move?
Well, it's a good trade for the Yankees. They need to do something with, Gallo. He was god awful. I don't know what to say. And Benintendi, yeah, if I was with the Royals and then I go to play for the New York Yankees, best record, and I'm not vaccinated, yeah, I'm going to get vaccinated. So good trade for them, good upgrade for them. Like you said, maybe the Royals get lucky with these 3 draft picks. We'll see what happens. But it's overall, of course, the Yankees got all the money, and great trade for the Yankees.
Yeah, and his contract coming to an end at the end of the season, so a nice rental. Not to say they won't re-sign him, but I think they're more focused on re-signing Judge at the end of the season. Not too worried about what happens with Benintendi. Scott, anything on this Benintendi trade, the New York Yankees?
I don't view him as a rental. The Yankees had the checkbook. They'll sign him if he wants to play there. If the guy's willing to get vaccinated to go to New York, come on, Lou Rick. Okay, don't you think he'd resign? Yes.
I think I think he would. Just not sure the Yankees are going to dish out that money when they know they're going to probably pay Judge $40 or $45 million a year. But we'll keep things in New York. Mets make a minor deal with the Reds on July 28th. Bring in left-handed hitting outfielder Tyler Naquin. A nice depth move for the Mets. Nothing spectacular necessarily, but a guy that has some left-handed power. Good in pinch hit situations, maybe a platoon in their outfield to go with Nimmo and with Marte and Canna, etc. Rick, any thoughts on this by the Mets?
That's a good trade, I mean, they're just trying to strengthen themselves up. They're playing great right now. Everyone thought they're going to fall from the face of the earth with their 2 big injuries from their pitchers, and they stay.
All right. Well, it looks like we lost Rick for a moment here, Scott.
That's all
I
right.
don't know.
We got him back. But, Rick's one of those. Now you see him, now you don't. Okay, Rick,
either way, yeah, it's definitely an interesting move. But let's get to what happened on July 29th. One of the biggest moves. We saw it coming, maybe not for Seattle, but we saw Luis Castillo. He was going to be on the move from the Cincinnati Reds, and he was to the Seattle Mariners for 4 prospects and 3 very, very good prospects. Possibly even an overpay for Luis Castillo, who I think is a very good pitcher, might not be elite, but is a very good pitcher. But if you're the Seattle Mariners, you haven't made the postseason since 2001. It's been 21 years. So yeah, it reeks a little bit of desperation, but good on you. You go out there, get the best pitcher on the market, add him to Robbie Ray, add him to Logan Gilbert. Really good stuff by the Seattle Mariners. I think this assures them a postseason berth if they continue to play good baseball. So nice move by them, and great get by the Reds, loading up on young talent. They could be something to watch in 3 or 4 years, Cincinnati. So good stuff all around. Scott, your thoughts on this?
Well, again, when you have a postseason drought that long, you're rest assured you're going to try to get out that monkey off your back. What they're doing with this move is get the gorilla off your back, see what happens. Last time they were in the postseason, they had the best record in baseball, undoubtedly a record under Lou Piniella and the rest of the group. So
they also had A-Rod and Ichiro, but
yeah, that didn't hurt either. So they had a pretty good team. I wonder how many jerseys are retired off of that group, but yeah, they're definitely proving that they're going to go for it. More power to them.
Rick, you like this move by the Mariners? You think they gave up too much, or do you think it was worth it regardless?
You gotta go big or go home, And since you mentioned Service should get fired, they've been playing great. So
he must be a fan of the show.
He listened to you and said, "I'm gonna show that Lou Landers something," and he's gonna stay. And look at how they've been playing great. And why not? They're gonna go all in, so go all in. So
I was wrong on that. I thought they had to make a move. They were really struggling there for a while. But good on him, good on them for keeping with him, and great stuff from them. July 30th, 3 kind of minor moves. We'll go over all of them all at once. Dodgers get relief pitcher Chris Martin from the Cubs for infielder/outfielder Zach McKinstry. Nice move for the Dodgers. They wanted to bolster that bullpen. Phillies and Cardinals make a good baseball trade. Cardinals send shortstop Edmundo Sosa to the Phillies. They get left-handed relief pitcher Jojo Romero from the Phillies in exchange for Sosa. And the Rays get outfielder David Peralta from the Diamondbacks for a minor league catcher. Nice move for the Rays. They get an upgrade in their outfield. Good platoon bat with Peralta. Always handled righties pretty well. For the Phillies, infield depth. For the Cardinals, another bullpen piece. And then, as I mentioned, for the Dodgers, bolstering that bullpen up a little bit. Chris Martin, a nice veteran presence, and a guy who can certainly help them in the 6th through the 8th inning. Rick, you're a Dodgers fan, but also Cardinals, Phillies in contention in the National League, Rays in contention in the AL. What do you think of these moves?
I think it's a win-win for everybody. They got some pieces there to strengthen themselves up. Dodgers, they can just it's over. They got it's all sealed up for them. The other ones, they're still trying to make a run, so they're just trying to strengthen everything up. So good. It's a win-win for everyone.
Scott, what do you think?
You know what, Lou? I'm only going to comment on one of these 3 transactions. The Cardinals don't make many bad trades, period.
No, they made a great one, which we'll get to. One that I'm a little concerned about as a Yankees fan, actually. We'll get to it later on. But moving things on to yesterday.
Well, let me point this out. In their history, when players get traded to the Cardinals, they like it there, and they like to resign. They don't make many bad trades. It doesn't mean you can't make one. They don't make as many.
They made one bad trade recently that I can remember. It was Sandy Alcantara for Marcelo Zuna. That's not worked out well.
But otherwise, you're right. Away.
That's one, and I can tell you that my Marlins are happy because of it. So I have no complaints.
The Cardinals are a good organization. They've made great trades, and they made a really good one here today. A few, actually. But August 1st, this is where stuff really starts to heat up. That was yesterday. Start with the Yankees getting right-handed relief pitcher Scott Efros from the Cubs. They give up their number 7 prospect, starting pitcher Hayden Wesneski. Good get for the Cubs, considering they just gave up, a middle reliever, get a prospect with some high potential. And for the Yankees, they get a guy who's controlled for 5 more years, having an amazing season, throws sidearm, sinker, slider type of guy, kind of a nice difference from the relievers they do have. So I think a good trade all around, certainly with, Chad Green on the injured list and with Michael King now out for the year, Loizaga and Chapman being inconsistent, Holmes starting to blow saves. I would say getting some relief pitching was a smart move for the Yankees. What say you, Rick?
Yeah, they had to. Because Chapman is just struggling, and they just need. The Yankees. It's over just like the Dodgers. So it's signed, sealed, delivered. Just trying to get ready for the postseason. Got to strengthen things up, get stronger, and they made some really good trades during the trade deadline and before. So good for them.
Well, the biggest trade from yesterday, arguably. Not necessarily the biggest, but certainly the most shocking. I will say that. Brewers trade Josh Hader to the Padres in exchange for relief pitcher Taylor Rogers, relief pitcher Dinelson Lamet, outfield prospect Esteury Ruiz, and pitching prospect Robert Gasser. So the Padres get one of the best relievers in all of baseball. And the Brewers, they get Rogers, who's been decent this year. They get Lamet, who has a nice arm, but he's injury prone. Interesting prospects, power speed guy with Ruiz, and then a prospect in Gasser I don't know much about. Seems like an odd trade for the Brewers, so we're in first place right now. At the same time, small market team, maybe not wanting to pay what they're going to have to pay Hader in the future, kind of diversifying a little bit, bringing in a bunch of depth. Do I blame them? No. Am I still surprised? Yes, but what a move for the Padres for sure. Rick, what do you think?
Padres, I mean, they also did another big trade. We'll get to later, but yeah, this was a head scratcher for me. But Hader probably just said, "I'm not going to stay here," and they were like, "We're not going to dish out all that money." He's second in saves. I mean, they're in contention. It's a head scratcher to me, but to me, he just didn't want to be there, or they just didn't want to pay him the money. So it's a small market like Tampa Bay. They get good players. They don't want to stay, and they move on. And great for the Padres. Fantastic move for the Padres.
Yeah, see, I have nothing wrong with what the Brewers got back. I think they're all helpful players, certainly the relievers they got. I just question moving Hader when you're in first place. If you're a third or fourth place team, hell, go for it,
Yeah.
But in first place, I don't know. Having him and Williams, the back end, really gave them an edge, especially in a playoff series. Scott, any thoughts on this? Did this surprise you? The only person it didn't surprise, honestly, was our friend Mark Mancini. He said it yesterday on our show, and then about 2 hours later, it happened.
Wow.
Well, let me backtrack on the Yankees-Cubs deal for a moment, Lou. When you have teams that have a history of trading with each other and they've done business together, then they certainly don't mind engaging again for certain types of players. Obviously, we know Chapman went there and helped the Cubs snap that long drought, and now they're doing business with them again. So, when you're a general manager or organization, you have a good history, yeah, why not go back to the well? That's my first point there. As far as this trade for Milwaukee, and I'll tell you what, I take Jeff Passan. I had a chance to spend time with him out in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He's a very credible source, and he seems to think the Brewers made out pretty good on this deal. He really does. I mean, Josh Hader, would they have been able to sign him next year or not? I don't know. But, when you can get a pretty good haul of some prospects and a guy who's only one save away from the guy you let go, then, I'm not so sure I would really totally write this one off. So,
it's not being written off, Scott.
No, but let me point this out. Okay, it's one of those TBDs. I don't mind it. Okay, again,
look at Rogers' ERA and WHIP compared to Hader. I mean, I understand the saves. Saves are saves, but you're looking for quality innings, not just saves. And there's a big difference between Rogers this year and over the past few years than to Hader. I get you. I still think it's not a bad trade for the Brewers. It's still just head scratching because if you want to win, you are technically going in the wrong direction this year.
Well, your point is totally accurate, Lou. Okay, first of all, if you're a team that's leading your division, then you make a bold move like this. I totally get it. So I'm not disputing that what your point is. I'm a little surprised that he went to the Padres, okay, from a first place team, as if the rich didn't get richer. And I know I'm leading it to go later. Little segue, that was the first. And here's the thing. The Padres didn't have to give up top tier prospects for the Brewers to pull it off. And they saved a few in their pocket.
Yeah, they had to save those for something else. Yeah.
Well, right, and I'll tease that a little while. But here's a little interesting tidbit here when we talk about the Padres and the Brewers. Who's the one of the all-time save leader who's actually had a history? Trevor Hoffman has actually pitched for both organizations. So there's a lot of purists out there. Now, with all this whip and all these extra stats that I don't know nothing about, no comment. And you don't get many of those, okay? I only go by how many innings, complete games, strikeouts, walks, and all that. And if you want to throw all this algebra analytics at me, do it. I'm not going to comment. And it takes a lot for me to not comment, and that's one of the times I won't. I'll leave it to the smart guys like you to deal with it all the time, Lou. But I'm not one of those guys.
Seems to me like you just commented plenty, buddy.
Huh? What's
seems
that?
to me like you just commented plenty.
Well, in the communication world, it's called paradoxical communication, contradictory behavior. I don't know. That's what it took me to get to the University of South Florida to get my degree. And maybe I had a little contradictory behavior. And for all of our people that are watching, well, you know what? We can have fun with this show, no matter how many moving vans there's going to be, how many different people are going to be moving. And the only ones that really benefit if they're being traded to another team over across the diamond, then you'll worry about it later. All right, Lou, go ahead. I said my piece.
New York Yankees back here in the news. They get shortstop starting pitcher, my mistake. There's just I was looking at some of the other trades here. For starting pitcher, Frankie Montas from the Oakland Athletics. They give up J.P. Sears, Ken Waldichuk, Luis Medina, and second baseman Cooper Bowman. Some of the Yankees' better prospects, not the top end, but a bunch of guys in their top 10. Sears has pitched well already this year in the big leagues. A nice get for the A's for sure. Surprising the Yankees didn't have to give up Oswald Peraza, one of their top prospects. Lots of people thought they were going to. But they bring in Frankie Montas, who, despite some shoulder issues this year, is a very good pitcher. The question is he going to be like Clay Holmes coming over from Pittsburgh and succeed in New York? Or is he going to be like his former teammate Sonny Gray coming over from Oakland and absolutely stinking in New York? So there's some risk here, but Montas overall a good pitcher, a nice get by the Yankees who kept him away from the Toronto Blue Jays and other teams they've been competing with in the American League. So overall, I think a good move by the Yankees. What say you, Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I thought, we've been talking about Montas, and we said, we've been throwing out all these other teams. And, of course, who get them? The Yankees. Got big payroll, got their own TV, everything. So, great pickup from the Yankees, just getting stronger, getting ready for the playoffs. Why not get a good arm in there? We knew Montas would be gone. He'd been, on the radar for the trade deadline for many, many months. And, the A's are a complete disaster. They're probably going to be moving out soon. So good for them for the Yankees for getting Montas.
Absolutely. Have any thoughts on this one, Scott?
Well, anytime you can bolster your pitching at the deadline, go for it. And that's what they did.
All right. Well, Houston Astros, seeing all these moves by the Yankees, they're looking at them for the American League Championship Series. They say, well, we got some moves up our sleeves too, folks. And they get first baseman / outfielder Trey Mancini from the Baltimore Orioles for some pitching prospects. Mancini always been a pretty good bat. Power zapped a little bit with the new additions in left field in Baltimore. That's not going to be the case in Houston. He joins a very good lineup, an established lineup, a team that's headed to the postseason. That'll be new and good for Mancini, of course. But I think he gets a big boost offensively heading into free agency. So a nice move for them. But I also want to add on to it. Astros make another trade shortly after. They get World Series winning catcher Christian Vasquez from the Boston Red Sox in exchange for 2 minor league prospects. So in about a matter of 30 minutes or so, the Astros get Mancini and Vasquez. Very good moves by them. And nothing against Martin Maldonado, been a very good serviceable catcher for the Astros. Great defensively, great with the pitchers. Not a good guy with the bat, though. Good glove work, not with the bat. Vasquez brings both. So a really nice move there. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, good for the Astros. Mancini's a good player. I'm sure he's very happy, with the frustrations in Baltimore. Now he goes to a first place team, and they needed some pop in the catcher's role. They had a great catcher, but just couldn't hit. So now they got both. So good for them. Good for their lineup. They got stronger, and they're getting ready to head for the playoffs. So you got to make yourself better and stronger. So good for them.
Yeah, much deeper lineup now than it was just 24 hours ago or so. Scott, pretty good stuff by the Astros. No, I mean, they're already a great team. They just got better.
Yeah, prior to coming on this show, I was on with Mark Mancini, and he figures a brother from another mother. Okay, let him go ahead and eat that up all day long. Everybody thought that the Houston Astros would be written off for dead when Carlos Correa went on to Minnesota. It's kind of worked out. So, they're making some good moves. But, if the Astros win the World Series, all I'll say, like on this broadcast as I did before, I am hoping Dusty Baker gets a ring as a manager, period. And if these moves get Dusty Baker a ring because of it, then I'm all for it. And
I would hope that doesn't happen this year, personally.
Yeah,
another team in the American League I like, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you one thing, though, Lou. The Astros and the Yankees they've developed a pretty good rivalry here in the American League.
Yeah, but the Astros have their number. The Astros,
they do. Lou, they really do.
Month.
So, as much as a lot of people think that this could be a Yankees thing all day long, I'll tell you what, the Astros do find a way. And don't forget, a guy by the name of Justin Verlander does still pitch for him. And you know what? At last I heard, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. So Boston Red Sox, a team that lost to the Astros in the playoffs last year, a team that beat the Yankees in the playoffs last year. They're probably not going to the playoffs this year. They did trade away Vasquez But they did make some minor moves. They get Tommy Pham, an outfielder from the Reds. They get Reese McGuire, a catcher from the White Sox, for relief pitcher Jake Diekman. Not really sure this makes a big difference for the Boston Red Sox overall, but nice to see them not completely selling. I guess, trying to keep things kind of going, and they're not that far out of a playoff spot. So interesting moves, kind of made some subtractions with Vasquez, but made some additions elsewhere. I'm not so sure. Like I said, it's going to make much of a difference, but good on them for not completely throwing the towel in. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, it's small, nice moves. I don't see them going anywhere. I think they're just going to get ready for next season. They've just been so up and down, so inconsistent. And we don't even know what's going to happen with the managerial role, to be quite honest. That's a question mark there. So I think they're just going to get ready for next season and make some minor moves. So to me, it's not really a big deal.
And Vasquez is an impending free agent, so I mean, Boston's not shown a lot of willingness to sign their guys when they hit free agency, but maybe if they really do like Vasquez, they bring him back. So I wouldn't rule that out necessarily. St. Louis Cardinals, they make a trade for left-handed starting pitcher Jose Quintana from the Pirates. Quintana kind of disappeared as a good pitcher for about 5 years, but he used to be a good pitcher, and he's been very good this year for the Pirates. Doesn't have to leave the NL Central, which is beneficial to him. Adds depth to the Cardinals' rotation. They got a lot better since this trade in their rotation, but certainly a good start for them as the deadline was approaching to bring in Quintana and give themselves some depth, as I mentioned, some injuries as well with Steven Matz, with Jack Flaherty, and maybe one other that I'm missing. Their rotation has definitely taken some hits this year.
Yeah, I like what I like what they did. It's good moves. And of course he disappears with the Pirates. That's the Bermuda Triangle of baseball. So because they're so irrelevant. So, hopefully he'll find his groove over in St. Louis. I would think he would. And you can play with the best crowd in baseball. I love the St. Louis crowd, why so many people stays. I mean, I remember Tito Martinez hitting 189, getting a standing ovation. So it's a great place to play. Great team. I think he would be very happy. And so I think he'll find his groove in St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, was pitching very well this year for Pittsburgh. Tailed off a little bit recently, but might be able to get it back. Also, great defense there in St. Louis as well. Good overall team, just good organization, as you mentioned, good fans. Astros kept busy here. They send right-handed starting pitcher Jake Odorizzi to the Braves in exchange for left-handed reliever Will Smith. Good trade on both sides. Braves get some depth in that rotation. Astros get themselves a lefty in the bullpen, a very right-handed heavy bullpen there, a good bullpen, but right-handed heavy. They get themselves a lefty, a guy that was in the World Series last year against them and with the Braves, who was the closer there, kind of fell out of favor because of Kenley Jansen and some other moves the Braves actually made today. But good stuff overall, good baseball trade here. No prospects involved, I don't think, just 1-for-1. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, it's just to make the Braves stronger. I mean, of course, they're one of the best teams and one of the best managers. They won the World Series. They're, of course, in the playoff hunt, of course, and, just see what they can do to make themselves stronger. So it's a nice little piece that they picked up.
And the Braves make another move, acquiring outfielder Robbie Grossman from the Detroit Tigers for a minor league pitcher. What do you think on this, Scott?
Well, there's a history between these two teams, so I'm going to go back at a time when you weren't even born, Mr. Landers, okay? Let's go back to August 12th, 1987, when the Detroit Tigers acquired Doyle Alexander from the Atlanta Braves for AA prospect John Smoltz. Yes, the Hall of Famer John Smoltz. But let's talk about short-term versus long-term, which is what we're going to get a lot at the trade deadline anyhow. Also, Doyle Alexander did was lead the Tigers to a division title. He was an all-star in 1988, and during that 87 run, he was 9-0 for the Tigers with a 1.53 earned run average. So you know what? When we talk about the trade line and we summarize everything and put it in its perspective, are we looking at long-term versus short-term? That's what we are. Now, let me go back a little bit to 1981, which we know probably you definitely weren't there. I was covering the baseball winter meetings in Hollywood, Florida, and I've spent time talking with the Dodgers people, namely Al Campanis. And Al told me one time when we were eating lunch together at the Diplomat Hotel, there's 3 ways to make a trade: immediate, short-term, and long-term. And that's exactly what I've always learned. Every time I talk about trades, it makes good sense. And, it's one of those things where, you benefit immediately and then long. So, John Smoltz, to me, we know how it turned out. Won a world championship, made it to the Hall of Fame. Doyle Alexander, though, had a really good career too. So it's a situation where when I talk about the trade, about the Grossman deal, it's not a big high octane move, but it's probably one that stabilizes their clubhouse a little bit and provides you with a steady ball player that can give you a lot of leadership and some kind of production. So yeah, I think
good, solid defensive outfielder, really good base runner, a nice guy to add as depth for a playoff run. Absolutely, for the Atlanta Braves. So that will wrap up August 1st. Yeah. Can you believe it? That would have been enough of a trade deadline right there. But that was just Monday. We get to today. Early this morning, Orioles, they trade their closer Jorge Lopez to the Twins for 4 minor league pitchers. A great move for the Orioles. I mean, whether they're competitive or competing this year or not, they can still potentially compete with or without Lopez. They get 4 minor league pitchers. Maybe something can happen with a couple of those guys. But for the Twins, a much needed help in the back end of that bullpen, their biggest weakness by far. They get Lopez, who's having a tremendous season. He was an all-star this year. So I think a really nice move all around on both sides. Rick?
Yeah, Twins, good for them for what they're doing. They need to get better, get stronger. You got a good pitcher, and then the Orioles got some prospects. So, they got something they could build on for the future. And who knows, those guys one of them could be a big superstar. You don't know. So I think it was great for the Orioles. And it was great for the Twins to make themselves for a playoff push. So win-win for both. But I like what the Orioles doing. I think they're just building up for the future right now.
Yeah, they're already a good young team, and they're only, getting better with the Mancini trade and this trade as well. And for the Twins, certainly needed some back-end bullpen help. No question about the fact that they needed that, and they addressed that even more today, just pitching-wise in general. We'll get to some of that. Scott, you have any thoughts on this deal? Are you surprised the Orioles gave away or traded away Jorge Lopez when they're in the midst of that playoff race?
No, nothing surprised me about the Orioles. They haven't been relevant in years anyway. So right when you think that they're going to be able to contend, they don't. So, to me, they're an organization, Lou, that I find out to be a little bit strange in how they do things. So, no, I'm not surprised. But before we go any further, I want to let everybody know that you can go out there and subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel. Okay, so go to South Florida Tribune YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com. and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. So to advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. So folks, if we certainly would appreciate you subscribing to the channel. That way you get all the updates you can for all these shows that we work diligently to go ahead and put out there for you. But I guess to summarize my thought again, though, Lou, on this, the Orioles, to me, there's one word, they're a mystery. The only thing I ever cared about the Orioles is when I grew up watching the Brooks Robinsons, the Mike Cuellars, the Jim Palmers, and I used to love watching Gary Thorne do their games. Other than that, they have been a mystery, and for anybody that realizes the history of, Earl Weaver, Mark Belanger, that's the Orioles I knew and I grew up with. I'm not so sure that we can talk about the Orioles that will be masquerading to try to think that they're turning the corner, and yet they make moves like this that kind of boggle my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not all that surprised, Scott, because I do think they still need to look towards the future. They're not really ready to win right now. So I do think it was a good move, and they sold high on a guy who really hadn't been a great player up until this season. So I think it's a good move for them. But the biggest one, the biggest trade of them all, you thought you heard it already. You have not. The Washington Nationals trade Juan Soto and Josh Bell. Not just Juan Soto and Josh Bell to the Padres for rookie shortstop C.J. Abrams, top outfield prospect Robert Hassel III, a right-hander Jarlin Susong, top outfield prospect James Wood, left-handed pitcher Mackenzie Gore, and first baseman Luke Voigt. Now, this is also interesting because at first it was supposed to be Eric Hosmer going, and they would have been unloading a lot of money in that deal. However, Hosmer had a no-trade clause, 10 teams. Washington happened to be on it. Lo and behold, he does not revoke that no-trade, and Hosmer does not go. Luke Voigt does. Tough break for Luke Voigt, if you ask me. But a massive, massive trade by the San Diego Padres to get Juan Soto for the next 2+ years. This guy is a 23-year-old superstar, one of the best players in all of baseball. Getting Josh Bell is a huge boost as well. A really good hitter, switch hitter, improved defender. This team looks fantastic on paper. Already adding Hader, of course. Tatis Jr. is coming back, folks. He's one of the best players there is. You're going to have Tatis Jr., Soto, and Machado in that lineup. That is absolutely wild. Well done, San Diego Padres. What do you got, Rick?
I love it. I love it. We were talking about this earlier about where Soto might go, and you said, Lou, that he was going to go to the Padres, and I thought that'd be a perfect fit for him. I had Padres or Cardinals he was going to, and Padres got the money, and they're just going big right now. And yeah, you're right. Tatis, Soto, Machado, Josh Bell, their own murderers row lineup right there, and they're young and in their prime. And I mean, they look great, and they got Hader now. So I mean, of course, to me, the overall winners on this is the Padres. And Nationals. They had a horrible farm system. They got some pieces, so they can build on their farm system. So I think in the long run, it'll be good for them. But right now, it looks fantastic for the Padres.
It certainly looks fantastic for the Padres, and in the long run, if Mackenzie Gore can stay healthy, he's probably a frontline starter for them down the line. James Wood is a very good hitter, and Robert Hassel is a very good prospect. CJ Abrams, lots of potential, but hasn't shown it yet, maybe because he's just not polished enough in the big leagues. So they could get something good out of this trade, Washington, but they really had to do it. Soto clearly didn't want to be there after rejecting that big-time deal. A lot of people might think it was an underwhelming trade. Maybe it was, but I think Washington did about as good as they were ever going to. What do you think, Scott? Because this is almost an unprecedented type of trade when you're talking about Soto, not trading a superstar, but trading one that's just 23 years old and was the leader of your World Series championship team just 3 years ago.
Well, I got a lot of thoughts on this one. First of all, okay, the San Diego Padres have been titleless. Okay, Titleless, as in when they lost to the Detroit Tigers, first of all, and when they lost to the New York Yankees. Number two, the Padres have been willing to spend money. They don't mind spending money, and they did exactly that. So you want to talk about a potential murderer's row there? You can add this young generational player, more power to them. They've already shown their commitment when they added Hader. And, Hosmer, well, you know what? He ended up going to Beantown. We'll get to that in a little bit, along with some other guys that did get moved. But, there's no question. I've been predicting that he was going to go to San Diego all along and to get Bell with it. I mean, my goodness. And, how much better does it get? I think it's a win-win situation for both, though, Lou. I've talked about trades before, including the one I mentioned before about the Braves deal. This is another win-win situation because, again, you're beefing up the prospect side for the Washington Nationals, and the San Diego Padres have been clearly saying, we're going for it all. And as a result, they play in a beautiful stadium. I haven't been there, but I've seen it on the outside. It looks fantastic. And San Diego is the only game in town. So, when I say that I think the Padres could win it all, I don't know. And I'll tell you why I say that, because number one, the National League is tough. I've been drinking the Mets Kool-Aid all year, and Buck Showalter. And yes, I'm going to get that reference in tonight anyhow. But boy, I'll tell you, San Diego certainly bridged the gap a whole lot more. And if we see a National League Championship Series with the San Diego Padres and New York Mets, that will be a first-class classic. So, yeah, I think this is a win-win deal. More power to Juan Soto. And I think part of his problem stemmed from the fact they didn't want the contract public. And also, there's ownership instability with Washington as well. So
they're also a really bad team. And before today, they really didn't have any farm system either.
True. So, yeah, no, again, I'll just summarize what I have to say. It's a win-win situation, more power to the Padres, and hopefully the Washington Nationals get better. I can only imagine what it'll be like down the road when we ever figure out the mystery of Steven Strasburg, but that'll be for another podcast.
So the Padres obviously wanted to trade Eric Hosmer. They tried. They failed with the Washington side. So they go and they send him over to the Boston Red Sox, him and a low-level prospect to the Red Sox for pitching prospect Jay Groom. Groom at one point was a big deal, hasn't really lived up to expectations in the minors, but the Padres get him, and they unload Eric Hosmer, which would have caused a roster crunch. I believe they are paying most of Hosmer's money, but still an interesting move for the Padres to get another prospect back after trading so many. And you know what? An interesting move for Boston, because although Eric Hosmer has not lived up to his contract since going to San Diego, he's a big upgrade to Bobby Dalbec and Franchi Cordero, both offensively and defensively at first base. So again, they traded Christian Vasquez, but they brought in Tommy Pham, and they brought in Reese McGuire, and they brought in Eric Hosmer. Red Sox not necessarily going away. I think a good trade on both sides. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I like what the Red Sox did. Padres, you can't blame them. They're trying to get rid of Hosmer. He had a no trade clause, didn't want to go there. So it's like, where can we send him now? And I don't blame him. I wouldn't want to go with the Nationals either. They're terrible, and they're going to be rebuilding for a long time. So he goes to the Red Sox, good team, playoff team, makes them better. So yeah, I like what the Red Sox did, and the Padres they had to get rid of him because his contract was so huge.
Yeah, and he'll be in Boston, I believe, for 2 more years.
Yeah.
Maybe even 3 more years. I mean, eventually they could try and trade him or DFA him, but it could be a building block for their next round of success because Boston's not unsuccessful for very long.
And he struggled. He struggled a lot in the National League, and he was great in the American League. So maybe going back to the American League will be better. So
yeah,
and maybe that's what the Red Sox are looking at.
I think so. Toronto Blue Jays trade infield prospect.
Well, let me add to that for a moment, Lou. I think you guys are on the right track, but let's not forget the underlying factor that, first of all, he's playing at Fenway Park, okay? So that should certainly help him out. And since we're talking the Red Sox for a moment, I just want to interject this, okay? They didn't trade J.D. Martinez, so that kind of shocked me a little bit too. So, I'm not sure where this
or Nathan Eovaldi.
Right. So, so they have a couple guys they didn't trade. So I think the move to go to Boston is a fresh start for Hosmer playing over at Fenway Park. So, the Boston Red Sox are interesting, and I'm glad you incorporated Eric Hosmer into the equation. And, again, like you said, Rick, a valid point. He had success in the American League, and you know what? Why not go back to a league where you've been able to put some numbers? I just thought I'd incorporate that into it, Lou. Go ahead.
Sure thing. Yeah, sorry I didn't let you comment.
That's all right.
The Blue Jays trade infield prospect Jordan Groshans to the Miami Marlins for relief pitchers Zach Pop and Anthony Bass. A good move for the Toronto Blue Jays, bolstering their bullpen. They needed to do so. And for the Marlins, at least they got something. Groshans was at one point a very big-time prospect. The helium has come down on him. I think he could be a good line drive type of hitter. Maybe, hit 280, 290, 325, 330 on base percentage. Decent player, but I don't think he's that big bat prospect that the Marlins might be hoping for. I think they have a player in Brian Anderson right now who kind of profiles very similarly to Jordan Groshans. But I guess only time will tell. Sometimes prospects go to a new place and they excel and they develop. Overall, a good move for the Jays, and at least the Marlins get something they can try to build with. We know they need offense there in Miami. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, it's a good trade for the Marlins are just kind of there, and if it wasn't for Don Mattingly, they would be like the worst team. And so we'll see what happens with that. And that's somewhere down the road. And I just think they're just rebuilding right now for the future. And unfortunately, they have ownership that's so cheap right now. So they just want to be cheap. So it's can't get any worse, So for the Marlins, and yeah, it's an okay trade. So I think it works. I think both teams benefited.
Well, I want to tell everyone subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on YouTube at www.southfloridatribune.com, the website. Follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. You can advertise. You can call 954-304-4941. Audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, of course, live streamed and on demand on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc. Back to some baseball trades here. Los Angeles Dodgers acquire.
Well, wait a minute now, sir. You got to let me talk about the Marlins.
Yeah, what do you have to say about the Marlins? What do you know about them?
A whole lot more than most people. So no, I'll tell you right now. I was at the game Sunday against the Mets, and everybody thought it was Pablo Lopez's swan song. Guess what? He was removed after 2 2/3 innings, and they did give a nice applause. But Kim Ming wasn't ready to sell out on him. The guys that they moved, Zach Pop and Anthony Bass, no big deal. I expected Pablo really to be gone. So again, the prospect you're talking about could certainly help him out. And unfortunately, recently the Marlins got a bad break when Max Meyer has to go Tommy John surgery. So I'm not losing any sleep over Anthony Bass Okay, and Zach Pop going to Toronto. And obviously, Toronto, I think we were considering going after Tarek Skubal. That never really worked out either. And I'm kind of glad he stayed in Detroit because he keeps Mickey Loges number 29, and he's a left-hander. So if I can't see Mickey, let me see Tarek Skubal. But as far as the Marlins trade, this one doesn't bother me. I thought that the Marlins were going to do a lot more, and the trades that they made were not that big a deal. They still have to show somewhat of a commitment to the fan base that we do get. A good crowd for us is 15, 18,000. And that's when you have New Yorkers or Shohei Ohtani in town. So,
this was a good move by the Marlins.
Yeah,
The relief market was really hot. Lots of teams were in on these relievers. Marlins had a couple good ones, and they cashed in. Hopefully, they get something good out of Groshans.
Well, don't sell Kim Ng short. Really, don't sell that woman short, because you know what? She's been in the game a lot of years, worked at the Dodgers, worked at MLB, the White Sox, and the list goes on and on. You want more about her, Google her up. But she's a good general manager, and she does have to work with a tough situation where there are financial constraints with ownership because they don't put a lot of people in the stands, though. You have to make the best of it. Yeah, Rick, you're right. Without Don Mattingly, the Marlins are looking at 30 wins instead of where they're at now. And I think that if he re-signs, like we alluded to a week ago, and he's the right guy to manage the team. But I think this situation, to summarize this Marlins thing, could be a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, definitely. Dodgers acquire outfielder Joey Gallo from the Yankees in exchange for a minor league pitcher. Gallo certainly outstayed his welcome in New York. The fans were not kind to him. I'm sure he did not produce. He was really, really, really underwhelming, actually. But still, fans definitely gave him a hard time, made it even more difficult on him. Not to say he's going to suddenly just turn it around, but a fresh start is always a good thing. Gallo was at one time a very talented hitter, still a good on-base percentage guy, good at bat, good glove. So maybe Dodgers can find something in him, turn some things around. Maybe pitching isn't as familiar with him in the National League. Maybe he can take advantage of that for a couple months and give them a boost. Either way, Dodgers get Gallo. Yankees unload Gallo, his money, and open up a roster spot for some of the other moves they have made and will potentially make. What do you think of this, Rick? You are a Dodgers fan.
Forget about Juan Soto. This was the blockbuster trade of all blockbuster trades right here is Joey Gallo with that phenomenal average. He's Rob Deere. So, I mean, it's like a no-win, for the Dodgers. Why not? I mean, he was really a good hitter. He just hit a lot of home runs and struck out a lot. But, I mean, maybe he can find that over there. I'm kind of concerned that he's going from one big market to another big market. I always heard rumors that he might go to the Brewers, which I thought would have been a perfect fit for him and for the Brewers. But nevertheless, he's going to the Dodgers. I'll be in LA. Maybe I'll catch a Dodger game and see him hit a home run. So it's for the Dodgers, but he might catch lightning in the bottle there. Maybe he could be the next Manny Ramirez when he went to the Dodgers. Who knows? So we'll see.
Anything's possible. Certainly has that home run power. Anything on this, Scott?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say about the whole thing is he's trading the subways for the freeways. That's all you need to know. So if you want one headache, there's another. I've been on the New York subways and I've been on the LA freeways, so I can say I've been to both.
Ditto.
Oh, go figure. Maybe a fresh start will help the guy out. That's all I can tell you. But I know one thing: LA fans aren't as difficult to play for as the Mets and the Yankees and Philadelphia. So but a fresh start won't hurt the guy out there. And guess what? The tax brackets are going to be high regardless of what market you're in.
And gas.
And that too. Yeah.
That gas is woof.
Yeah, I don't even know what gas prices are in New York City because they're all probably on the subways anyways. But we know that one of my longtime friends has a very interesting way of describing LA. And I don't want to mention it to get my LA people upset with me, but let's face it, he doesn't like it there and he's moving to South Florida. That's all you need to know.
Fair enough. So the Mets were a little busy here. They get outfielder / first baseman Darren Ruff from the San Francisco Giants. They give up third baseman / outfielder J.D. Davis, some minor leaguers as well. Ruff, very good hitter against left-handed pitching, so a nice platoon option there for the Mets, some depth. They also get relief pitcher Michael Givens from the Cubs. So they bolster that bullpen a little bit. Givens, of course, has closed out games. He's pitched in high leverage situations. So nice minor moves by the Mets just to, just continue to be competitive and make this big time run for the playoffs. Of course, they got Jacob deGrom back tonight. and that's about as good a trade as you could possibly make. So,
Okay.
well done for the Mets overall.
Yeah, I like what the Mets are doing. Buck Showalter, he's manager of the year. Forget about it. You can just give him the award. He's manager of the year. He's done a fantastic job with the Mets. I love what the Mets are doing. I love the new ownership. I like it. They're not making these big splashy trades. They're not going after a Juan Soto or something like that. They like their team. They're doing great. They're still in first place, but they know the Braves are breathing down their neck, so they had to do something. So they just had to get a little stronger and bolster everything up. So I like the pieces that the Mets have done.
I will tell you, when I was over at the Marlins game on Sunday, Candy Ebling, our photographer at the Tribune, asked me who should I take pictures of. Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso are a good start. Pablo Lopez was another one. He was pitching that day, and they didn't even have Starling Marte in the lineup, and they still hammered out 19 hits. So this team is dangerous. I don't care what anybody says. And, let's face the reality. You got Pete Alonso in that lineup, Starling Marte, a former Marlin, who, by the way, last year at this time was traded at the trade deadline to the Oakland A's, and he's on a team which is just loaded. He really is. So go figure what a difference a year makes.
Certainly so. So the Los Angeles Angels and Philadelphia Phillies connected on 2 trades today, completely separate trades, but they happen to be between the 2 teams. First, they trade outfielder Brandon Marsh, the Angels do, to the Phillies for a catching prospect. I'm scratching my head here because you're the Angels, and the whole thing is you want to get younger. You want to get better. So they go out there and trade an outfielder that's 24 years old, that was a top prospect as recently as this January, with 5 years left of team control. And you trade him away for a catching prospect who might end up being Tucker Barnhart, maybe. I'm not sure what the Angels were doing there. Sorry, what the Angels were doing there. I will say they made a good trade when they traded Noah Syndergaard to the Phillies a couple hours later for 2 prospects. They had to move Syndergaard. I think a good move for the Phillies on both sides. They get a starting pitcher to slot in behind Wheeler and behind Nola. They get a center fielder that they have so desperately needed there in Philadelphia. And they get Marsh for the next 5+ years. Well done for the Philadelphia Phillies, who also got relief pitcher David Robertson from the Chicago Cubs. So a really, really good afternoon for the Philadelphia Phillies. Cubs, not so much. They didn't trade Contreras. They didn't trade Happ. They got a decent return for Robertson. They got nothing, in my opinion, for Marsh if you're the Angels. And Angels still just a team that I'm shaking my head at. But Phillies, well done. Rick, what do you got?
Yeah, the Angels. I mean, they were rumored they were going to trade Ohtani away. They were thinking about trading him away. So, I mean, what the Angels do, Arden Moreno is a huge puzzle I can't figure out. With all that money he has, he couldn't get any decent pitching. All he does is rely on Trout and Ohtani, and you get rid of Madden, who, I mean, he's a great manager, and they just freaked out and got rid of him, and they're awful right now. They're actually worse now without Madden. So they're a big question mark. But Syndergaard, they gambled with them, hasn't worked out. Maybe going back to the National League will help. And maybe he can get his mojo back there with the Phillies. But if he doesn't do good in Philadelphia, watch out, because that's a brutal crowd. But Phillies overall did great. Angels, not so much.
Certainly so. What do you think, Scott? You and I actually met on a show in Philadelphia last year. And at the time, the Phillies had some issues with their rotation, with their bullpen, with their center field situation. Just all of them today.
Well, I recently went on a show with Warren Brewster, and I always talked about the city of brotherly love. Not. Okay, but the best part about Philadelphia was I did get to meet you and a few of the other people on there. Many years ago, when I was covering spring training in Clearwater, my goal was to try to interview Steve Carlton. Never worked out well. Then again, nobody ever would. So you know what ends up happening? I ended up interviewing a guy by the name of Von Hayes. I don't know if you guys ever remember the name. I know Rick does. And the Phillies fans are so hard. Hey, 5 or 6 for 1. Let's see what you can do here. And then I knew I had a great story, tape recorder in action, and yours truly over at Jack Russell Stadium. Go figure. So, but I was talking to Warren Brewster on a show. Well, let's face it, the Philadelphia Phillies fans are tough. They're loyal. They come out in numbers. And I think they got this trade right for sure. The Angels, what can I tell you? I mean, you're thinking about trading Ohtani, and Trout's hurt. So they, to me, reside in the right place, Disneyland, because there's a lot of, You got Mickey Mouse, you got Goofy, you have Donald Duck, and I have all them. So I guess they reside in the right place. I shouldn't be knocking an organization I like, but when you make boneheaded moves like this, what am I left to do?
Yeah,
So, no,
I guess we really know who's running the organization then.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck.
Yeah, they're definitely living in fantasy land. If they think they're going to get something out of that and trade Ohtani away, it's like, huh?
So now I've had people ask me this question: do you like Disneyland or Disney World better? And you know what? I actually tell them Disneyland because it was the original thing first, and not Disney World. So for a lot of you Disney folks out there, I think Disney World's great, but Disneyland is number one in my book. So
I would have to agree.
Yeah, but it's well, that's true. You've been out there before, so Disneyland gets my book. But as far as the Angels concerned, well, I don't know. You tell me. You guys go out there and contact us at South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. Tell me what amusement park you like better, and then you can also tell us, okay, when it comes to the Angels, okay, are they located in the right market? But Philadelphia is tough, and I know what their fans are about. They're passionate. They're loud. They're going to boo Santa Claus. So what? Everybody gets booed there, Eddie, you say. I don't take anything personal. If you go to Philadelphia, if you're not thick-skinned, you're in trouble anyway. So if you produce, they love you. If you don't produce, they don't. All I can tell you, the Miami Marlins like them because they get a lot of Phillies fans down here too.
Yes, they do.
Off of I-95.
Minnesota Twins, guys. Minnesota Twins, they made that move early in the day for Jorge Lopez. They bolstered their bullpen even more, getting relief pitcher Michael Fulmer from the Tigers, a very good reliever, guy that could pitch in the late innings, and the pending free agent who they won't have any financial responsibility for following the season. But the bigger of the moves the Twins made today, acquiring starting pitcher Taylor Mahle from the Reds in exchange for 3 minor league prospects, Spencer Steer, a good one, Christian Encarnacion Strand, and left-handed pitcher Steven Hajar. So good stuff for the Minnesota Twins here. Mahle certainly doesn't have the numbers you would want this year, but he's been better as of late. He is shown to be a number 2 caliber pitcher in Cincinnati in the past. Leaving that ballpark is going to help. Going to Minnesota is going to help. Equally bad divisions from the NL Central to the AL Central. So that works out as well for him. This is a good move for the Twins. Now, are they going to lose in the first round of the playoffs like they always do? If they get there, probably. But if you add him to Sonny Gray and Joe Ryan up top that rotation, not looking too shabby. You add Fulmer and you add Lopez to the back end of this bullpen, not too shabby. At one point, really up until today, I was thinking White Sox, Guardians, they're catching the Twins. Now, I'm not so sure. I don't think the Guardians or White Sox did anything of value. Twins went out there and made the moves they had to make. Good on them. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I like what the Twins are doing. They're in let's say, weak division, trying to get better, trying to get ready for the playoffs. They got to get stronger, bolster everything up. And I'm surprised the Guardians haven't made any moves. And I guess with the White Sox, Tony La Russa been falling asleep. So maybe they fell asleep during the switch. So I don't know. But I like what the Twins are doing. And they had to get better so they can make a playoff run. So I'm good for the Twins for what they're doing.
Yeah, the only thing I'll comment on the Twins' moves is Michael Fulmer, number 1, was once a trade acquisition for the Tigers at the trade deadline. Worked out well. He was a good starter for a while. I believe he made an all-star team. I don't know if he won Rookie of the Year, but he was a good pickup.
I think he did win Rookie of the Year, too.
Yeah, right. I think he did.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, I hate to compare younger players for older players, but Dennis Eckersley went out there and reinvented himself in the bullpen pretty well. And John Smoltz did the same thing. Am I putting Michael Fulmer in that category? No. But when he had a lot of arm troubles and he ended up going to the bullpen, it really transformed his career. So, yeah, I mean, more power to Michael. He'll pick his destination where he wants to go unless the Twins decide to re-sign him. So it's a fresh start with a contender, something he hasn't had for a while. But, it's interesting. We could do shows on how many relievers starters turned out to be good relievers. And, boy, we can have a field day with that.
Dave Righetti is one of them.
What's that?
Dave Righetti.
Yeah, well, there's another one. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Rick. So, yeah, but that's for another day. But, I'm more power to the Twins. I mean, they landed Carlos Correa at the beginning of the year, and I never thought he'd land there of all places. I thought Correa would end up in Detroit to be reunited with A.J. Hinch. We all know that didn't work out. We're not going to get into that tonight. But, yeah, more power to Minnesota. But I do agree with you, Lou. Okay, they'll probably get knocked out by the Yankees or somebody, so it doesn't matter. Get to the playoffs, right?
First round, they would get if they win their division, they would get the final wild card team. So that's looking like either Tampa, the Guardians, the White Sox, the Orioles, the Red Sox. One of those teams is probably who they'd face first round.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even be able to predict that situation. So to win a playoff series like the
I
Florida
would
Panthers,
take Tampa over them, and in the playoffs, considering how bad they are, I would probably take the Guardians or the White Sox over them too, and probably even the Orioles or Red Sox. Again, that final wild card spot is wide open, although Tampa does have the lead currently.
yeah, I'll compare the Minnesota Twins to a local version of the Florida Panthers. Okay, getting the playoffs, one thing, you can't win there, so it doesn't make any difference. You can go out there and do well in the regular season. You get a President's Trophy in Florida, and when they
They
get
both went
by,
to championships in the 90s, though.
oh, nice, yeah, okay. Were you alive back then?
Believe it or not, I was. I think I was
Yeah,
1 years old for the Twins, and I think I
okay.
was 5 or 6 years old for the Panthers.
Well, let me tell you this, okay? I'm glad you brought that interesting trivia. Okay, the Panthers out there had Roger Nielsen as their coach. They had John Van. That was a pretty good team that they assembled there. So, and to get to the finals to lose to the Avalanche. Now, if you want to talk about 1987, when I made the Doyle Alexander reference, here's a great story outside of Tiger Stadium. I tried to buy a ticket on the street. Somebody took my money. It just so happens one of my employees, who's like an uncle to me, was there. Went to the game, loaned me $20, and you know who I ended up sitting next to that day? Minnesota Twins owner Calvin Griffith, and I wrote a story on him. And boy, Calvin was happy that the Twins won, and I got to sit next to an owner who, to me, unfortunately, was not a bad owner, but he certainly couldn't afford to stay in the sport. So you want to talk about some interesting ironics? There you go, my friends. And again, I guess I'm exposing Landers on the old age card. How many times in this show?
It's okay. I don't mind that people know that I'm in my early 30s. I mean, um,
Hey,
well,
we got a good crew here. We got a guy in his 30s, a guy who's going to be 60 in December, and Rick Curdy's somewhere in between. And we got a lot of baseball knowledge with this trio.
I thought Rick Curdy was a fresh 18.
Yeah, no, I'm 20. I just turned 21.
Thought so,
Yeah.
yeah.
What,
Now I can
times
drink,
two?
so I'm happy.
Is it
thought
21
so.
times two?
Yeah, 21 times like 4.
Okay. Oh, all right. Whatever.
So I don't know about Rick's math there, but we'll get back to baseball. Padres acquire infielder / outfielder Brandon Drury from the Cincinnati Reds. Padres just basically getting everybody today. And a good move because Drury on a 1-year contract wasn't going to necessarily be back in Cincinnati. He's having a tremendous season there. Offers the Padres some nice depth. He can play all over the field, outfield, infield, whatever it might be. They're, again, still without Tatis. They did trade Abrams, who was playing second base for them here and there. They have Cronenworth, of course, still. The outfield for them has been shaky at times this year. Of course, they got Soto, but that's just one outfielder. Grisham and Myers not been great. Myers been hurt a lot. So adding Drury is a nice bat for them. And for the Reds, they get back pretty good minor league prospect as well. So just continuing to bring in those prospects if you're Cincinnati. What do you think, Rick?
I mean, they're just getting better. I mean, they are absolutely loaded right now. And it's like, why not? The Reds are giving away pieces because they're terrible. And so why not pick up the scraps? And they're just trying to show the Dodgers, forget about you guys. We're the big fish in Southern California, not you guys. And they're making a huge splash right now. And I love what they're doing. I know Bob Melvin is happy to get out of Oakland, to be in San Diego. And the only thing I have to say about the Padres, please get rid of those ugly UPS uniforms. That's the only complaint I have with the Padres, those ugly UPS uniforms that I absolutely loathe. Other than that, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, those jerseys are
uniforms.
Nah, they're kind of ugly.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, Rick. I like those uniforms. Leave the Padres alone.
No, I hate them. Bring back those navy blue ones.
It's okay for us to disagree on this.
Let us know at Tribune South on Twitter what you think of those Padres uniforms.
There you go.
The navy blue ones, when they had Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez, those were the cool uniforms. When they had Sheffield,
what about
the
camouflage ones? They had those camouflage ones.
Yeah, the military ones. All right,
they've been a little creative with their attire, a little
brown
bit.
Brown ones with the brown stripes with the SD. And
it looks like something that would come out of my bottom.
Yeah, but
they look like UPS drivers.
You know what? I like it when you get creative with some of this stuff, Landers. I mean, really. I mean, I don't have a problem. But you know what? Forget about what Rick has to say, myself, Lou. You go to at Tribune South if you're on Twitter and follow and even comment here if you want to. We don't care, but I don't have a problem with their uniforms. At least they're creative with their attire. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. So San Francisco Giants busy making some very, very minor trades. They trade away Trevor Rosenthal, who hasn't thrown a pitch for them in the big leagues this year, to the Brewers. So Brewers get another bullpen piece. They trade left-handed starting pitcher Matthew Boyd, former Tiger, who has not thrown a pitch in the majors this year, to the Mariners. They also trade Kurt Casale, the backup catcher, to the Mariners, who don't really need Kurt Casale. They don't really need Matthew Boyd either, unless Boyd is healthy. So weird moves for the teams acquiring these players. Good moves for the Giants, who get pieces. But the Mariners, who got Boyd, who got Kurt Casale, also got outfielder/infielder Jake Lamb from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, Lamb became expendable as a left-handed bat when Joey Gallo was brought in. So Lamb goes to the Mariners. Mariners get 3 players. Maybe Boyd could be helpful. The rest, not so sure. Brewers get Trevor Rosenthal from the Giants. Overall, these moves, not major, but maybe helps these playoff teams in the Mariners and the Brewers. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I like what the Mariners are doing. You were here earlier on and said that Scott Servais should have been fired, and ever since then, they've been playing great. So I guess they heard our podcast and said we're gonna show the Lou Landers guys something, because they've been great, and they're just making some minor pieces right now, and it's like, let's see who's out there, let's see who can make us maybe a little bit better, and see what they can do. But right now, I think
Rick, also right now, Julio Rodriguez, their prized young superstar outfielder, injured on the injured list. Ty France, one of their better hitters, with a wrist injury. So any offensive upgrade they could get at this point doesn't hurt. Maybe they won't perform, but at least they're trying.
Yeah, at least they're trying, and they're trying to just get their name out there and want to do something. And, the Giants got some pieces, but I'm surprised that Rodon and Jock Peterson stayed. That was, to me, the big head scratcher for me, was that those two stayed, and they got rid of some minor pieces. So that to me is kind of mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling. And as much as I am shocked by it, maybe because they're only 4.5 games out of a playoff spot, they feel that their season's not over. I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, they don't compare to St. Louis or Philadelphia, the two teams they're kind of chasing. Like the Red Sox, on the other hand, who didn't sell off the big piece that we thought they would, are only 3 games out, not 4.5 out, and they are possibly as good as Cleveland and Tampa and Baltimore and Chicago. So it's kind of a different situation. San Francisco, very surprised they didn't move Peterson and Rodon. Great points there. Of course, did make some moves, but I'm not sure any of them were major enough to impact their organization in the future either. What do you think of all these moves, Scott? The Giants trades, the Mariners trades?
First of all, I'm surprised how far San Francisco has fallen in the last year. Here's a team that won 100-plus games, and now look what's happened. Gabe Kapler certainly did a good job last year, but when you lose key pieces, it's another story. I'll get back to what I said with the Mariners. Okay, they haven't been in the playoffs in, 21 years, did you say? So they definitely want to get back in, and I'm not ready to write the Milwaukee Brewers off yet. I don't know much about the Trevor Rosenthal thing at all, and I'm a little, wonder about the Hader move, but time will tell. But you add Rosenthal, you add Taylor that we talked about. So I don't know. I think the one word that for Milwaukee is I'm intrigued, and I need to see where all of this plays out. But the one thing we can't lose sight of with the Milwaukee Brewers is this: David Stearns is a bright general manager, and Craig Counsell is the most underrated manager in baseball. And we talk about Bob Melvin being a great manager. Don't sell Craig Counsell short. Don't. Because I'll tell you, this guy goes out there and wins with what he has. He's in a small market where they spend a fair amount of money here and there, and they're competitive every year. I don't remember the last time that the Milwaukee Brewers have had a run of success getting to the playoffs so many years in a row than what we've seen under this duo here between Stearns as well as Counsell.
Fantastic overall, for sure. Yeah, they're a very good team. I mean, them and the Cardinals could both get into the playoffs, but the Phillies also improved. All the Cardinals and Phillies, who are right now battling out that final wild card spot, Phillies don't have a chance in the East, really. Cardinals, of course, still have a chance in the Central. The Cardinals got way better today with their starting pitching, and the Phillies, as we mentioned earlier, addressed center field, addressed the relief pitching, addressed the starting rotation. Both these teams are very good. So the Brewers can't afford to fall now. They have to play good baseball the rest of the way, because the Cardinals and Phillies probably will.
No, yeah, I agree. No disagreeing there.
So back to the American League. Toronto Blue Jays make two deals. One, they get starting pitcher Mitch White from the Dodgers. A low pro move. White is actually pitching quite well for the Dodgers this year. Gives the Blue Jays another option in their rotation because Kikuchi, who knows if you can trust him, Ross Stripling, hit or miss most of the time. And then right towards the end of the deadline, coming in right at the end, Whit Merrifield comes over from the Royals to the Blue Jays. And Merrifield not having the season we're used to seeing from him. This is a guy that, former All-Star, former stolen base leader in the American League, former hits leader in the American League. Really good player. Can play second base, can play the outfield. But a nice get by the Blue Jays to bolster an already very good lineup. Nice gritty player again who offers some speed, who's versatile, can move around the diamond. A nice move for them. They did give up a couple minor league players to the Royals, better than what the Yankees had to give up for Benintendi because Merrifield's still under contract beyond this year. But the Royals do okay there for sure. And for the Blue Jays, again, good on them for, doing what they had to do to try and keep pace with everyone else in the American League.
Yeah, the Whit Merrifield one is kind of an ironic one because he's not vaccinated. And so he's going to the Blue Jays. So someone had to give there. But, if they get that all straightened out, and I'm sure they have, they will. He's a great player. I think they did great on that. I think the Blue Jays had some nice pieces going on. And, the Royals are just sellers. They're just not a good team. They're just
The timing, Rick, of the Merrifield situation is right because the Jays are on a road trip until Friday the 12th of August.
Mm-hmm.
So next 11 days, they are not in Toronto. That's more than enough time for Merrifield to get vaccinated.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he's going to. I'm pro-choice. If you want to get it, good. Whatever. But I will say this. Toronto probably doesn't make this move without knowing he's going to get it because it wouldn't make a lot of sense to bring him in and not have him in their home games.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's just an ironic move that he's not vaccinated and he's going to go to Toronto. So I just thought that was kind of an ironic move, but great piece for them, great player. And the Royals are just getting rid of people because they're not a good team like the Reds. So, good for the Blue Jays. I like what they've done, some pieces. He's a good piece there. I just thought it was ironic that he not vaccinated. He's going to Toronto.
Yeah, I guess what's interesting, we've talked about a couple of players tonight that got traded where the vaccine may come into play. Well, when you get assurances ahead of time, you make the deal. If you don't, then you don't do anything. So it's amazing what winning a world championship will do if you loan your arm out there so you can get vaccinated, even though you've been adamant about not doing it. And no, I won't make a Kyrie Irving reference, which I did mention his name. So for a lot of you people that said, here's a guy that certainly tried to beat the system. No, but I agree with you guys. You guys have been on a consistent roll about bringing in non-vaccinated players, okay, and getting them to become vaccinated because that World Series ring means an awful lot. I mean, and we'll talk about the Andrew Wiggins, of the Golden State Warriors didn't want to do it, but he did do it anyways. And, even though he probably wishes he didn't do it, you know what? He won a world championship, and I don't think that world championship, to me, in his mind, will be priceless down the road. He's probably glad he made the move. So not trying to throw a little NBA, but we're talking about a vaccination theme here where two guys made a move, and they'll end up getting it sooner or later if they expect to play.
Yep, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense to me. So the Yankees and Cardinals swap players here towards the end of the deadline. A move that came as a bit of a shocker. Did not see it coming. Yankees trade their left-handed starting pitcher Jordan Montgomery to St. Louis in exchange for center fielder Harrison Bader. And there's a couple things about this deal that really stand out to me. Cardinals needed another starter. So good on them to get Montgomery. I think he'll be very good in St. Louis, not just because he's leaving the American League and the AL East, but because, as you mentioned, Scott, earlier, St. Louis has this thing about them that they really do well in these trades. They really get the best out of their players. And Montgomery is an underrated pitcher. Just because he doesn't throw 98 miles per hour and strike out 200 guys a season doesn't mean he's not a good pitcher. He is. So he'll do well. Harrison Bader, I like. He's a very good defensive outfielder, one of the best there is, blazing speed. Bat, we'll see how he does in the Yankee Stadium. Might be a lot different there than it is in Busch Stadium in St. Louis. My concern is he's injured. He has plantar fasciitis. What exactly are the Yankees getting here? I know they have brought in Montas, but Severino's injured. Domingo Germán, is he trustworthy? What are you giving away Montgomery, who's arguably been your third best starting pitcher this year? A little weird to me, but for the Cardinals, love it. For the Yankees, yet to be determined. If he's healthy, great. Maybe he'll be better than Aaron Hicks. What do you think, Rick?
I like what the Cardinals have done. They're a smart organization. They made great trades, except for the one for Keith Hernandez going to the Mets. Other than that, they've done great trades. And for the Yankees, big question mark. It's weird. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And they must know something. So maybe they're trying to get lightning in the bottle, like with Joey Gallo for the Dodgers. So I love it for the Cardinals. For the Yankees, I think they struck out on this one.
And they don't typically strike out on deals. I mean, Cashman makes a lot of really good trades. There might be something that we're missing here. Maybe Giancarlo Stanton's injury is much more severe and they need another outfielder in there. Maybe they're worried about Aaron Hicks being healthy. Maybe he's dealing with stuff. I know they would like to keep Aaron Judge in right field, so bringing in Bader would certainly accomplish that. I know they're saving some money going into next year. And believe it or not, they are actually conscious of that. They shouldn't be, but they are. Anything they can save, they'll try to save. So those are some of the things I've heard, but certainly head scratching for sure. Great get by the Cardinals. One last deal came in very, very late, certainly before the deadline ended. But of course, news always comes out after the fact. So this came out around 10, 15 minutes after the deadline had already expired. And it's the Atlanta Braves striking a big deal with the Los Angeles Angels, acquiring the Angels closer Raisel Iglesias for pitching prospect Tucker Davidson and veteran reliever Jesse Chavez. Obviously, Chavez is meaningless to the Angels. He's just going to provide some depth and eat some innings. Davidson maybe gives them a good starter down the line to go with, Detmers and Sandoval and Ohtani. Maybe not too shabby. But Raisel Iglesias joined this Braves bullpen. I don't know who's going to close between him and Kenley Jansen. Not really sure it matters. Both of them are arguably very elite in that role. So great move there. They also replace the arm they traded when they brought in Jake Odorizzi. Remember, they traded Will Smith. So they bring in another arm. Of course, Smith a lefty and Iglesias a righty, but they bring in another high leverage arm. Really good move for the Braves. Angels, I guess we'll find out. Surprised they couldn't squeeze a little more out of the Braves, though. Not surprised, I guess, because it's the Angels, but they should have probably been able to get a little more for an elite reliever like Iglesias. What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, the Angels, like I said, they tried to trade Ohtani. I'm surprised Ohtani and Trout didn't get traded for some In-N-Out burgers. I mean, it's mind-boggling what they're doing. It's puzzling. Artem Moreno, I don't know what in the world he's doing. He's lost his mind, And for the Braves, they lost the pitcher, gained a pitcher, and maybe they can have dual closers. One could take some time off and help the other guy rest, and then the other guy can step up and he can rest, so they can kind of take turns right there. So I like it. I like what the Braves have done. They're just making themselves stronger.
Yeah, and also I believe Kenley is only on a 1-year deal, whereas Iglesias isn't. So, maybe they don't re-sign Kenley next year, use that money elsewhere, and then have Iglesias to either step into the role or continue with the role if he ends up getting it. Personally, I wouldn't mess with it right now. Kenley's been good. So unless Kenley blows up or gets injured, I'd just leave him in that role. But again, you never know what the Braves are going to do. And I think whatever they do, they'll do it right because they've proven to be a very smart organization. Scott, what do you think on this?
Yeah, you know what? I'll ride with you there, Rick. Dual closers is a good idea. You can never have enough dual closers down the road. I really think so. That's number one. And the Braves know what they're doing. They're world championship, but they've been a first class organization for years. Okay, not just based on their recent success. They know what they're doing. I think
been about 30 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have no issue with anything the Braves are doing, and to think that they even trade with a team that they faced in the World Series to get a player to make a bold move like that. But yeah, you know what? Doesn't make any difference. Everybody will trade with anybody if you can get value. That's really what it's all about, and it's a win-win. And I've been talking about that all night, and I'll reiterate that. So more power to them, really. I think dual closers, Rick, is really where I would tend to slide with that.
Well, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com. Follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, you can call 954-304-4941. Audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, we stream live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And you can also catch the live streams on demand as well. That wraps up all the trades. I'm starting to lose my voice here. So, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you, man.
All right, thanks, Lou. I'm going to add one thing, which was a headline of the week. I was going to consider doing it later, but since I got Rick on now, I do want to mention one thing because I know this is one that hits dearly to Rick Curdy. Okay, you did, and by the way, before I do this, Lou, you did an awesome job with all the material that you compiled. So if anybody deserves a kudos, you definitely do, Lou. I am so proud of you in terms of all the research you put into making this show possible. Great job, Lou, and Rick. Great job with you. I'm just trying to go ahead and fill in the blanks where I need to. So the one topic I want to throw out there at the very end was a headline, okay? And that's Max Scherzer talks about pitch com should be illegal as stealing signs is part of the game. And to me, you know what? I want to get Rick Curdy's take on this one because we know he loves to pick on the Astros and the sign stealing. So, we talked about trades, okay, and and stealing bases is part of the game, but signs nobody likes it. So, if there's an opportunity for Rick Curdy to rant before he goes to LA, okay, now's your opportunity to talk about what Max says. Do you like it, hate it? Although I think that's where you're at. Okay, the floor is yours about Max Scherzer talking about the fact that stealing signs should be part of the game. Go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, he says some very bizarre things. I really don't. He's a great pitcher. I just don't like his philosophy. I mean, he was also someone tried to throw out the first pitch, and he wouldn't allow him. He started warming up, which I thought was kind of like why. So he does some bizarre things. I think what he's saying is stupid. It's cheating. It's like like I think it was the Blue Jays. They were using binoculars to steal signs. I mean, is that part of the game, Max? I mean, is that really what you want to install into young children that cheating is cool and cheating is okay? You're a role model. You should know better than that. And that's why things in our society right now is just, to me, going downhill where people just think they can do whatever they want. They feel entitled. And hey, so Max Scherzer said it's okay. So why not let me do it? So you're going to teach little kids like that who look up to you and all that stuff. And there's always so much garbage already going on in sports. Why add to it? So big thumbs down for what Max Scherzer said. And he needs to grow up and just shut up and pitch.
Fair enough. Lou, you have anything to say about it?
I certainly don't have as a deep hatred for the whole situation as Rick clearly does, but I will say that I don't disagree that stealing signs has been a part of the game in the past. Some people have taken it to the extreme, aka Astros banging on trash cans. We all know that. Apparently, the Yankees or Red Sox used Apple Watches or whatever it might be. Everyone's pretty much been guilty of it. I don't have an issue with the pitch com, though, because I think it's genius. I mean, it goes directly into the pitcher's ear. To me, it saves time. There's no mix-ups on signs and what there might be, which could lead to wild pitches, which could lead to guys getting hit and guys getting injured. I think it's just a better communication process. We're not still playing baseball in 1890. It's 2022. We have the technology, so why not use it?
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm kind of in between both of you, so I will make sure I give you a definitive no comment on this one. Max is just being Max, okay? Well, I know Rick Curdy's headed to LA for a few weeks to visit family, so we look forward to having him back. You and I, Lou, are going to be doing this bad boy, but I'll be out in Cooperstown, New York, looking forward to going to the Baseball Hall of Fame. But what a great broadcast we had tonight. And, you two guys are outstanding co-host you are, and I'm proud of everything that you do. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to really enjoy this broadcast because Lou put a lot of work into putting it together, and Rick and I are just happy to be a part of everything that we can do. The main thing we always like to tell people is if we educate you, inform you, and entertain you, we've done our job. And I hope we've been able to accomplish that objective tonight. So meanwhile, you and I, Lou, have a date next Tuesday. Rick, obviously, you'll be in our mind. I hope you get your Dodger dog out there in LA.
Yeah. And I'll talk to Artie Moreno and ask him, what in the world are you thinking of?
All right. Well, with that said, okay, Rick, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
You can find me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. We have a petition on there you can sign. We're trying to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte. We also on Facebook at Charlotte MLB. I'm also on there. I'm also on Instagram at Charlotte Bats. I'm also on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Facebook again at Charlotte Bats Baseball. And I'm on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And if you have any comments or questions, you can email me at CLT batsbaseball@gmail.com.
All right, Lou.
Well, of course, my name is Lou Landers. As you probably know by now, you can follow me on Twitter at Landers Talks. I am the director of MLB and fantasy baseball content at drroto.com. I do the Lou's Locks MLB DFS podcast Monday through Friday, Counting Stats podcast, the Lucas Baseball podcast with my co-host Lucas Beery. I appear on Sirius XM, Sports Byline, the Armed Forces Network, and of course, right here with you two every Tuesday night.
You guys are the best. I'll just give you guys the Cliff Notes version. Just go to www.southfloridatribune.com. You'll find it all there. Please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. No cost to do it. Hit the bell, and then you get all the notifications. And last but not least, you can go at Tribune South. I do want to give a special shout out. Kudos to Candy Ebling, who does a remarkable job with the website, putting the content up there, the broadcast. And without her, it would be a very difficult production to even go out there and produce. So Candy Ebling, to me, will be joining me in Cooperstown. We're planning to leave right around 12:01 Eastern time. And, you know, one of my good friends, Craig Minervini with the Marlins, asked me, Scotty, how far do you plan to go out there and drive? As far as my determination will take me. And, you know, I told him I must be a strange bird because, you know what, Craig, I like driving at night, and I get stronger as the night wears on. So I'm not wearing my King of the Road hat tonight, although I'll be hitting it in a matter of a few hours. And Craig gave me a good app, hotels tonight, in case I really do need to stay in a hotel somewhere. But you know what? Looking forward to the adventure. Now, I want to let everybody know that does subscribe that we're going to have a lot of good videos out in Cooperstown, New York. We really, really will. So I'll be doing a lot of things out in Cooperstown, and, you know, so subscribe. There's going to be a lot of surprises headed down the way as well. And of course, Lou and I are back at it next Tuesday. So on behalf of Rick Curdy, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, and Lou Landers. A great job tonight. And like I told you, when you have a trade deadline and you're able to hit on so many transactions, I'll be curious to see how these play out, and we'll definitely bring this subject to the forefront in the future and see how a lot of these moves played out. So whether it's a rental, a long-term deal, it doesn't matter. But nevertheless, we enjoy bringing you this edition of 186 Baseball Talk. Good night, everybody. Catch you the next time. And Rick, enjoy your vacation. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Good night.